All right, ready to start when you are.
All right.
I am recording.
Now I gotta make sure that this. Okay. All right. We should be live this time.
All right. Hello.
All right. And you're recording?
I'm recording.
Oh, okay. You're listening to the Verhoeven Effect, where we reclaim the enthusiasm from the entropy of our lives. I'm Conlon.
I'm Nathan.
I'm keeping that one for now. I probably should have came up with another one and then just like rolled it around like it was a revolver of sayings. But whatever. Right now in the season 1 of Verhoeven Effect, we are watching police procedurals because from network television police procedurals because me and Nathan typically don't watch network television. We are watching. Oh, now I forget the dates. 2014.
Okay.
NCIS New Orleans, 2008's The Mentalist, and I just have the dates here. I guess I can look at it.
2015 NCIS.
Well, it's 14 because it crossed a year for the episode. So, I always say the year that it starts in, even though technically the episodes we're reviewing are a year later. And 1984 is Miami Vice.
Yes.
Tonight we have the season finale of of Miami Vice.
Yes.
And then when I went to the Peacock page, it said episode 23, and we're watching the episode 22. So I'm like, did I screw something? Did we miss an episode? And then I realized Peacock splits the first episode into 2 because it's a 2-hour premiere.
Okay.
So that's how it'll end up as 23 episodes. But for this, we watched the first episode as just one whole episode. So Miami Vice ends tonight, but the rest of them have one more episode. So as always, to start with NCIS New Orleans, we have Season 1, Episode 2, How Much Pain Can You Take? Original date, May 5th, 2015, CBS Tuesday. To send a message to Pride, Baitfish murders someone close to the NCIS team, prompting a citywide manhunt for the elusive criminal. Dylan Walsh guest stars. He's like the cop. He's like the New Orleans cop. He was like in I think the previous episode too.
Yeah.
So I don't know why that gets in there. I forget what he's been in a ton of stuff, but I can't remember like his big thing. But anyways, showrunner Gary Glasberg, written by Christopher Ambrose and Christopher Silber, directed by Terrence O'Hara. So we have a previous on again.
Yes.
With the Baitfish trilogy going on. This time they added a gunshot to the previous on, which wasn't at the end of the previous episode.
Yes.
To like, I don't know, I was like, oh, is she dead or not? And then they cut to, she's dead. Savannah's dead. So it's like, so that mystery is solved.
Yep.
Well, at least for us, the viewers, because we know more than what the team does. So this is kind of like 2 personal episodes in a row for LaSalle. He has to find his brother innocent, and also his girlfriend gets killed. So
yeah.
So I mean that goes more to his character arc here, where it's like it's pushing him to the edge. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Then while they're like investigating things, there's just like, it seems like a drive-by, but apparently he was just like cooped up somewhere on a building and he was just spraying the NCIS building with bullets. Because we see like that she was shot outside in the previous episode, but here she's inside. So I thought that was like a mistake at first, but then they point out like, oh, she was dragged inside, and then that Pride's like suspicious, like, why did you do that? And he's like, get down. And I have no reason to jump to that conclusion.
Yeah, it seems like a stretch. But Baitfish is elusive and mysterious and not very smart, but menacing at the same time.
Yeah, both not smart and a criminal mastermind all at the same time. He's a character that the writer's room cannot really solidify.
No, he has no role but evil. It's dumb evil, smart evil. It's just, he's just the ultimate, like...
Because I wouldn't necessarily, like, I don't think there's anything in the history that we know of Baitfish, of him, like, dragging dead bodies to lure cops to get shot. We know him as a bomber.
Yes.
and an arsonist, and like a guy robbing a house accidentally gets like somebody killed. We don't know him as like an ambush guy, so that jumping to conclusion doesn't make sense. It'd make more sense if like there was a bomb in there for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, who's cooking metal? And like like, oh no, it's a bomb, run. And then just like random two cops get killed and Brody gets like a graze on her shoulder from a bullet.
Which we find out later are magic death bullets.
Yeah. They say that, what do they call them? Like
bimetal.
What is it?
I think they're called bimetal bullets or something like that.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I had it lit. I wrote it down somewhere. Because they call it like a multi. What is it? It's a bullet made of multiple metals. Blended metal bullet. That's what they call it.
Yeah.
Which kind of aren't all bullets kind of blended metal bullets. They're not all pure lead. They're always kind of like either have like a copper core or a lead core and a copper seal or all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, some of them are. I mean, you've got like what you call brass solids, which are just solid bullets, which they have a lot of penetrating power, but their weight drags down their speed. And this bimetal or whatever multi-blended metal bullets, this is kind of a rumor that went around that. And I forget when it started, but like it's like, oh, the Blackwater guys were using these, and they shot someone in the ass and they died because it's a special kind of bullet. It's like, oh, it'll kill you wherever it hits you because it just like explodes in your body like a grenade and scrambles your organs. And they're a myth; they don't really exist. But for the sake of this show, they're dangerous because they come from afar.
Yeah,
or they're being imported by.
No, I mean there was in that Blackwater book there was a guy who like because the military, like, they can only use a certain amount of bullets because of the Geneva Convention, whereas like even in America, like cops aren't supposed to use like hollow pointed bullets, right?
Mm-mm.
But like civilians can, right?
Some police departments do allow it because
I mean it's going to be different state to state, but like generally
places like New York allow it because they don't want the bullets like going through walls and stuff because you're firing guns in a crowded city. But like obscure local towns are probably not going to just pay the extra money for hollow pointed ammunition. So,
but there kind of seems to be this thing where it's like civilians can have like crazier bullets than police can, mm-hmm. but police can have fully automatic weapons.
Mm-hmm. There's a trade-off there.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So in the actual Blackwater book, there is like they talk about a guy where like a Blackwater guy had some crazy bullet and like, yeah, shot a guy in like the foot or shot him in the ass and it came out his foot and they didn't think the guy was dead. They were like waiting for like return fire. It's like he just hit him once, but it came out all weird. So that's probably built to the myth, but they didn't say what bullet he had or anything. They just said like he didn't have a standard bullet. That was it.
Yeah. Well, this movie or in this TV show, they kind of take that. I mean, yeah, some things like that did exist, but in this TV show, these bullets are like the everything bullets because they fly through police body armor and then they blow up like a bomb inside you. It's like you can get one that will do either one or the other in the real world. They don't do.
Well, also think so they just have Kevlar body armor. They don't have like sappy plates in the armor, and pretty much any rifle will go through a armor vest. Or a Kevlar vest.
Yeah, or at least if a cop's wearing it, at least if it won't go through, it'll take him out of action as his sternum bounces off his spine. Because I've seen people shoot those with high-powered rifles, and sometimes they don't go through, but the trauma to your body would be, you wouldn't be like up running 5 minutes after getting shot by a hunting rifle with one of those.
Again, this is us being the gun detectives, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't like. I remember like actually we were kind of used to like maybe when we were younger getting knowledge about weapons from movies and then discovering that it's all garbage and just made up stuff.
Don't really work that way, but
sometimes it's just like, well, that's something like where it's like that's just not how that works. But then there's stuff where it's just like a myth and then it gets passed around. Like I think it's Lethal Weapon 3 does that a lot, like the cop killer bullets.
Yeah.
So
these are. I'm still disappointed that we don't have the runaway bullets. The ones that just lock onto your heat signature and
Yeah.
turn corners and so I was like, we got to have those by now. But no, it turns out we don't do things like that.
I mean, they do have that kind of like a bullet that can steer midair, but it's essentially just a small rocket, and
Yeah.
but it can't like stop and take a 90-degree turn like you can in the movies.
No, or fly through objects and avoid hitting things to get you. Because I thought we would honestly have stuff like that.
Well, I think there is one where it's essentially it's like a rear facing shotgun shell,
Mm-hmm.
and it's encased in it like almost like another shotgun shell, and it has like something where it can directly fire the bullet back, and so it's like you fire it at one corner and then you have it fire in the direction to hit what's behind it.
Yeah.
But it also seems like a bad idea. So like ultimately you're firing back at yourself, right? It's like yeah.
Well, then they had like the special shotgun shell. Well, it looked like it's a shotgun type shell,
Yeah.
but it's actually just a sabot for some kind of internal device. And like you had like a circle like on an Xbox controller, and you would tap the pad. Say there was people 50 feet in front of you shooting from cover, but there wasn't a building overhead. They were just behind like a cement thing. Well, then you tap bottom, and then the gun ranges, they're 50 yards away, and you fire, and then the shotgun pellets, when it hits that 50 yards, it blasts downwards into the people.
Yeah.
They've been playing with those, but they're not in like general circulation.
No. They're not. Yeah, they tend not to be reliable enough. But you see, like the test footage when it worked, it's like, oh man, that's a game changer. It's like, yeah, that's their 500th take.
Yeah. Oh, and the shells are $500 a piece.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, this keep shooting lead, boys.
Oh, it's like that. You ever see those taser shotgun shells?
Yes, that looks. I was like, well, I want one. Sign me up.
It's $500 a shell or something like that.
And it'll work half the time.
Yeah.
Or if you hit someone in the face or head with it, it'll still kill them because it's a shotgun shell. Well, I would like take non-lethal stuff because I don't get sued for if someone comes into my house and I like taser them. Like I don't get sued for that. You know, if I kill them, it's like it's always ambiguous. It's like maybe he really needed your TV and he didn't intend violence. It's like, yeah, let's make that argument.
And there's that one that's kind of the same way that shotgun shell you're describing, where it's just like you have a range meter, you fire a grenade, and the grenade goes off at that range that you set.
Yeah.
Which like that stuff has existed basically like for like 50 years, but like putting it into a small man, like just a guy can hold it. Like that's the new thing. It's like, oh, we just made it smaller and man-made deployable.
Yeah, it's like those giant lasers that like they'll show videos of. It's like this is what a laser can do, and it cuts just through. It's like a guy holding something, or it's on a mount, and it like cuts through an inch of steel in a second, and then you pan out, and there's like a semi truck there providing power. Well, yeah, that's a laser gun for sure, but you know the nuclear reactor that has to be hooked up to it is not. We're not going to be carrying. It's like this 50-foot square area is safe. This guy can destroy a tank with one shot, but he's, all you got to do is shell the reactor that's powering his gun, and he's just like everyone else.
So we have Pride confers with Sonya. She's back.
Yes.
Then we go back to Pride's conspiracy wall, and it's growing.
Yes. No revenge gun, though.
No. Yeah. And we still got one episode to go, but...
Yeah, it'll be back.
Well, I mean, actually... No, because the revenge is over. Well, anyways, then Pride gets a call from Baitfish, who just kind of like taunts him or whatever. I don't know. This felt like the writer's room. It's like we need to give him like agency over what's happened because it's too unbelievable.
Yeah, this guy's actually committing crimes mostly that would be handled by the New Orleans Police Department. But it's like, okay, we got to have a way to have these guys in. Oh, and the U.S. attorney can't wait to sign some deal for this multi-murderer to. He's going to spill the beans and he's going to get out in 5 years. And I'm like, what? This guy killed like 15 people.
Yeah, the U.S. attorney is going to give him a deal for this crime organization and just like skate on like 10 murders. It's like, that's cool.
Of naval officers and everything else with the bombings
and two dead fresh cops.
Two freshly murdered cops. It's like I don't think this is how it works, but whatever. Creates drama. So
Yeah, yeah. They talk about the the blended metal bullet, and it's apparently like it was made in South Africa, and they found it in Afghanistan. It's supposed to be illegal, but like they're supposed all to be destroyed, but they're magically around here.
They're coming to New Orleans, to a city near you. MS-13 is going to have them, because you got to remember what audience this is directed at.
We have Hamilton's back. He's like the sort of like this series long bad guy who's like they call him a counselor, but he's like just some sort of like state representative or whatever, of New Orleans. And he's like insists on helping, but it seems to be like he's helping because it benefits him somehow.
I want to help.
And I'm assuming there's that one part where like the episode ended and we thought it was like that Sasha was walking in the shower with baitfish. I think it's just Hamilton was probably in there. I'm guessing that's what my guess is.
Yeah, it was never clear, and it was kind of silly because there was no follow up.
Well, yeah, because it made it seem they made this whole deal seem like that like baitfish maybe got surgery and he at least dyed his hair, and he's just the same guy in this episode.
Yeah, yeah, he's not like Darkman or something. I'm coming for you. Nothing cool like that. This guy's a kind of an idiot who's dangerous at the same time.
Yeah,
this isn't like they're making this like how he's the nemesis of Pride. It's like Pride's way more intelligent, can figure out what this guy's doing. It's not like this is the Joker or something.
Yeah.
He's some implacable enemy, but they sure build it up like that.
Yeah.
It never pays off. Got to crank him out.
And then Sonya's like an undercover driver for baitfish. And then they like rob some box truck that apparently has like stolen Iraqi jewelry in it. And you get to the scene of like the crime and like the driver's dead, but he got some shot offs and apparently hit Sonya. And then she like she left her phone, but like took out her SIM card.
Yeah, the old SIM card.
Which seems was the phone like broken in some way? Is that why she take it out? Or okay, yeah, because that seems
never
weird.
Shown.
Okay, I mean, well, he picks up the phone, but it didn't appear to be broken because and then Sebastian makes the point. It's like, well, without the SIM card, there's nothing I can do with it. I mean, it seems clever later on when she swaps the SIM card so that
I think that's why it happened.
Yeah, but there's no. It'd make more sense if the phone got busted and then she took the SIM card out to make that play later on. But to just like she took the SIM card out as a probable opportunity or a maybe opportunity that she could swap it with this guy's phone. Far-fetched, but clever nonetheless. So
I know, like when I've been shot at and actually hit, the first thing I'm thinking is like hide, duck, SIM card. SIM card. It's like I got to get that SIM card out because when they kidnap me, I can plug it into one of their tumbled phones that they're just dialing numbers out of, and they will track me. So that's always like it's like duck, cover, SIM card. Duck, cover, SIM card. Just keep that in mind.
Now I have, because I've always had some weird fear of lightning striking the house and destroying all my electronics.
Yeah.
I've had usually I have a laptop on my bed when I go to sleep, and on occasion, multiple times, if I while I'm sleeping, if I hear thunder, I will dismantle my laptop in my sleep.
Oh, okay.
I'll wake up and the battery's taken out, everything's unplugged. Like the thing where it's like a little insert where you can put like a memory card or whatever, that's popped out and taken out. It's like, what the hell happened?
Hard drive sitting on the table. Yeah. Soldered the wires to the Wi-Fi card. Yeah.
So you never know what happens when you're with blood loss and duress.
Yeah, SIM card. Remember, duck, cover, SIM card.
Then let's see here. Oh yeah, they put Hamilton and Sasha together, which seems like pretty obvious. Well, like she puts out a bounty on baitfish for like $100,000.
Yeah, publicly.
Yeah, that doesn't seem suspicious at all.
No.
And then Hamilton's there, so
it's not even legal. Okay, you can't just publicly summon the bounty killers.
Well, I mean, technically it says for information on his arrest, not necessarily, but yeah, we all know what to take it for. That's her
we know
publicly.
She's dealing. She comes from an organized crime family. Supposedly she's reformed, and she's putting a bounty out there. So it's like, this isn't Crime Stoppers. It's not who she's aiming this at. But anyway.
And then Baitfish surrenders to the NCIS, which just again makes no sense. But
what's the SIM card?
Yeah.
She gets it in his phone, and they track him. It was like, where is he? Right in front of our headquarters. Like, oh, I'm glad she did that.
Yeah, made that all pointless.
Yeah. He's just here with his hands up, like, oh yeah, we caught him. This is a SIM card.
Although LaSalle and Brody find Sonia, who Baitfish just leaves there.
She's been bleeding out for like 10 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
She's got a dirty, oily rag over the wounds. She'll be good.
Yeah, she's tough. She's from the streets. They don't bleed out as quick as the soft suburbanites, right? Okay.
Yeah, and this is where like they set up the time thing that like like Pride only has like 12 hours to basically figure out how to put Baitfish in jail, or else the Attorney General is going to, or the U.S. Attorney is going to give him let him go on murder and crime conspiracies.
Yeah, multiple bombings, terroristic acts. We're just going to let him walk because he's going to tell us about these smugglers and set federal law enforcement against each other in a way that doesn't happen. But okay, it makes for a compelling story.
Yeah. What else we got?
Well, they find the boat because Pride knows something about New Orleans crime families.
Oh yeah. The Bassard crime family apparently they honor their dead by naming boats after them. Yeah. Because he says, Baitfish says something about Cousin Marie, and nobody knows what that means. It's like there's no Cousin Marie in the family or related to him, and then Pride magically has a photo that has a boat.
Oh, with a name on it. It's like, it's on my wall of madness. See, it's paying off.
And it's
cool if LaSalle and Brody just like disappeared like in A Beautiful Mind. Like, oh, they were never here. It was always me.
Well, they go to the boat, and it's just full of counterfeit money and those bullets they're looking for. So.
Yeah, and of course another Ford advertisement. Press the button and the tail.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, good job, CSI.
Well, I thought they're gonna blow up the truck. It's like,
yeah, I was waiting for it. Got the camera resting on this truck for 30 seconds. Like, this is how they generate money.
It was like tense for a second. It's like, oh wait, it's an advertisement instead of a television show.
Yeah, and they put like two kind of like Christmas boxes worth of counterfeit money in there. It's like, this is $30 million. It's like, well, no, that's not. You would need a dump truck to put 30, but whatever, I always worry about the weight of money as portrayed in TV shows. Like, he's got $1 million in a suitcase. No, he doesn't. It would weigh up. I don't know why I'm just obsessed with that, because I think someday I'm going to find a lot of money, and then it's like, oh, I've got to figure out how much weight I can carry. It's never going to happen, but it's nice to dream about.
Well, I think we always think back to Heat, where they really actually like deal with like the heft of stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's like, oh, that's not that easy, is it?
That's like dragging a corpse out in giant bags, because it's like, I forget. I talked about it in an episode. I have a thing that calculates the weight. It was The Last Mentalist. It was been like, that would have been like 250 pounds worth of money.
Oh yeah, and then LaSalle gets a guilt trip. He gets a gift and a guilt trip from Savannah's dad.
Yeah.
He's like, this was meant for you. And then also get justice for my daughter.
Justice, and I mean justice.
Capital J justice.
I want someone to go down screaming with St. Christopher's medal with the name on it, because they'll invoke religion too and make it even weirder. This is a Christ bullet. Like, when he was holding it out, I thought, is he going to shoot through the metal? So he's killed, but no, that's later on. I'm jumping ahead.
We have Pride interrupts a meeting to make a deal with Sasha. Like, either where it's like, hey, you turn yourself in before Baitfish gets this U.S. attorney deal, and then she doesn't fall for it, and then he just arrests her when she doesn't make the deal.
And a deal you knew she wouldn't make because she's worth millions of dollars and can hire a room full of attorneys. And she's not going to be like, oh, you got me. But at least they didn't do that, which I like, because it's like, yeah, this lady has lawyers and lots of money. She's not going to
she seems like the better mastermind than Baitfish.
Yeah, she's not an idiot who can make bombs good and is just excessively violent for no reason.
He can magically teleport anywhere and just be dangerous wherever they need it to be.
Yeah, it's like he's like, oh, he's supposedly this great criminal, but like he can't do basic. Like if you're a great criminal, it's like, oh, I'm going to leave Pride in New Orleans alone because that guy's a federal agent who can call unlimited resources against me. I'm going to go to like Tallahassee and raise hell. Make millions of dollars as a criminal because that's what I'm doing. No, instead I'm going to enact elaborate, foolish revenge plots that will just, put me in the crosshairs of something. It's like, that's not what people really do. But, that's TV.
Yeah, it's good. It's the drama. I mean, yeah, we'd say it's good drama. It just makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm locked into the story. Don't get me wrong. I'm not watching this like, oh, logically this would never happen. It's only when I'm like thinking about it later and looking at my notes. It's like, that's what happened.
Then there's a hit on the prisoner transfer, and Baitfish gets away, which is weird because basically the same thing happens in the Miami Vice episode.
Yeah, it's like the worst. Okay, we're taking the federal prisoner. We're transporting him. Where are we going to go? Oh, down an alley somewhere where we can easily get boxed into a field of fire where people are going to shoot us from all sides and we can't escape. Yeah, that's how they do it.
And also they do it the same way. They just have like a box truck full of guys with guns.
Yeah, it's just nonsense. It's just a big heavy truck you can't push out of the way, and we're just going to come out shooting. Like with no concern for our life at all. We're just going to start spraying U.S. Marshals down with bullets.
Yeah, they basically just, was it Patriot games where that happens, but they have RPGs instead.
The Patriot game ones made sense, though, because the cops were corrupt. And they led them. Or remember, they knocked the guy off the motorcycle and they replaced him with the other motorcycle.
I'm going to tell you this: I've never actually watched Patriot games. I just know about it.
That's part of the movie. That's no reason to watch it. And
I've seen that part. I've seen that movie like hundreds of times.
You're talking about Clear and Present Danger.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's the best reason to watch that movie is that scene because it's like, oh, what they're doing makes sense. It's like this is how they do it. They would lead these guys into an area where they can just rain fire on them. And it goes on for a long time. And it's actually like they're firing rocket launchers at cars and it actually destroys the cars. Or sometimes it cuts right through them and hits a wall and doesn't destroy the car because you're firing something meant to destroy a tank at a Suburban, which is just a bunch of thin sheet metal. It's like, okay. Yeah, cool scene. Anyway.
Well, I thought, because the Patriots game, that's the one with like the IRA guy, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that was in that movie. Because Clear and Present Danger, that's the CIA drug lord movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll have to. I can't remember. Yeah, I thought that scene was in Patriot. Oh, I don't know.
I'm more familiar with Clear and Present Danger than Patriot Games, so they might have had a version of that. But yeah, that's the one I'm thinking about. In Clear and Present Danger about the Reagan drug wars in the South and it has a lot of like cool scenes in it. Watch that movie, folks. Not what we're talking about.
Hey, we're getting off. I don't know. The last episode was like it was the episode 20. We had a bunch of like bad, like every episode was bad that week.
Yeah, so we just start talking about our own stuff.
Well, no, it's that like the episode became really super short because we just had nothing to comment about it because it was like, well, it wasn't good. We didn't like it. There's nothing to comment about it. So, I don't know.
That's
this week,
one where I had like one sentence of notes. It's like, oh, well, okay, we're going to fill this hour somehow.
So sometimes you can tell the quality of the episodes you watch by the length of the episode.
Yeah, when I start talking about, hey, Miami Vice this week, and I'm just showing you this, it's like, oh, he wasn't engaged.
But we're just talking about like scenes where like there's a transport and then like it gets blocked off and stuff, and that's the most famous thing is from those those Clancy movies.
Yeah.
Well, the crazy thing is like, so like the prisoner van eventually what happens is like Baitfish gets out and it's like holding one of the U.S. Marshals. It's a human shield. They both have vests on. He's stolen the guy's gun, is like taking out a couple of the gunmen and then runs away. It's kind of hilarious once you realize what's going on. It's like, wait, what?
And LaSalle and Brody are right behind that vehicle.
Yeah.
And it's like, and they can't get out because everyone's just firing guns like crazy. And but it's just, I knew it's a setup for something else. Like, it's the most obvious they're going to hit this guy scene in a long. It's like, okay, yeah, these guys aren't going to make it to the courthouse or the U.S. Attorney's office or whatever.
Yeah, Baitfish like gets away. But then LaSalle chases him down, and like Baitfish immediately surrenders, and this is where like LaSalle's like trying to force a standoff. Where he's like,
pick it up your gun.
Which I think that's in Once Upon a Time in the West.
Yeah.
Where he's like, pick up the gun. He's like telling the guy, before, that's what evil people say. Pick up the gun.
Well, remember, LaSalle's brother's crazy. It runs in the family.
Yeah. But then Pride talks LaSalle away from vengeance. And then
because Pride is always the moral center of the show. Always have some witticism, which I kind of like about the character. It's like he's going to say the right thing, but he's also going to realize, oh yeah, reality exists. He's like, I know you want to do this, and I don't think he gave that speech this time. Like, I do it too, but don't do it. It's.
Well, actually, he says, shoot him, and then he explains like this is what's going to happen afterwards, and I guess once he like displays the reality of like everything that will happen, that the immediate vengeance doesn't seem worth it.
I did like that, like he was just like, shoot him, and then they took a beat.
Yeah.
Like, well, if you do, because I thought it was like, whoa, where's this show going? Both kneecaps in the forehead. Do it now. We want to watch. Get your top off, Brody. It's gonna get weird in this alleyway. That's not what the folks at home want to see.
And then he talks us out down, and then like Baitfish is like talking about how like this is just the start of it, man. Like this isn't just about like smuggling at the docks. Like it goes farther beyond that. And then like as he's about to like tell them everything, he just gets shot in the head.
The most predictable. Like you knew this was coming.
What's
he gonna say? Is like, is ISIS going to invade New Orleans? Like, what are they?
Yeah. The only thing I'm like, it's like, what's worse than like what they're doing already? The only thing is like, are they gonna smuggle like a foreign nuke in and blow up New Orleans? Yeah. Like that's the only thing I can think of. Like that would be really bad.
And if that happened in real life, I would genuinely be like, wow, what other bad shit can happen to New Orleans?
They also phrase it as like a storm is coming, the likes you've never seen before, and which they're referring to like, did you remember Katrina? This is going to be worse than that. That's what they're implying. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, I love it. It's like, what are they doing? Are they just putting drugs into the drugs and guns? It's like that's already there.
Yeah.
So what are they going to like? The last scene going to be like glowing eyes from a shipping container and it's a Terminator robot? Like, what are we doing? I guess we're going to find out in the next one, but
yeah. Well, I mean, it implies there's this deep criminal conspiracy within the Navy and the U.S. government.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not just like crime happening in New Orleans. It's like implies that there's just like compromised people in the military, and that's going to like ruin our security across the world or something like that. But like, I don't know, we've had so many dealings in this show where it's like that's what they imply, and then there's nothing comes of it. Like
nothing happens.
Yeah, it's like it's not really about that. It's more about
some
like
petty officer misses his child support payment. So like, wait a minute, what about the darkness? It's gonna where is it?
Hey, if that all shows up in the last episode, good on you, NCIS New Orleans. I kind of doubt that, but
yeah, I'm not gonna hold out a lot. I'm not gonna hold my breath, but it'd be neat if it did.
Like if
I like at the end of it when it shows how like dated this show has become when they're approaching like the Navy guy. And it's like, okay, we need to look through all these shipping containers, and he's like, well, okay, there's 65 yards of them over here, and then there's another 30 yards of them over there, and they're stacked top to bottom, and they pan out of this New Orleans port where there's just shipping containers as far as the eye can see. And I'm like, wow, they used to be able to do that back in those days. It's like, we can't do that now. It's like I felt like a medieval peasant staring at the Roman aqueducts. It's like, did God build that? You know, it's we've fallen so far. It's like we can't even ship things anymore. Well, actually we can, but everyone just wants to bitch about it. So.
Well, they want to use less people and bigger ships.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got something to me for Christmas, like essentially, I don't know what it is yet, but it's like it came from the Ukraine.
Yeah.
A country where that might imminently be invaded or not, unless Russia gets some like tax breaks from us. I don't know what the plot is there, but it's like, oh yeah, we got something out of Ukraine to America in like a reasonable amount of time. So, you know, I mean, there's stuff going on, but yeah, sometimes you see that stuff in the show and you think to like modern times, it's like, oh, wow. It's like nowadays it'd be like, we got to look through all the shipping containers that came in the last week. Okay, all 4 of them are over there. You know, it'd be a different story now, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is pretty interesting, drama-filled episode, and
yeah,
like
this was engaging. It was an end of season doubleheader, so you knew it was going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, this felt like a season finale, so I have no idea what they're going to do for the next episode. I kind of have too high hopes for it because I'm like, man, what are they going to do next?
It's better involve a nuke. It's the only thing like cop killing bullets and all that. It's like, oh, New Orleans saturated with that already. So yeah, I'm interesting to see what it is, or it's like super crack, or what are they doing that's going to be worse than what's actually going on, not even in the series, but in the real world, what's going on there it's a fairly depressing and cool place at the same time.
And Pride is, or he meets Sasha and she's in jail at the end of the episode. So like, I imagine she gets out of jail by the end of the season, or at the season finale, and something bad will have happened, or they'll stop something really bad, but like, you know, it's like 2 steps back.
I was very happy with this episode though, because Baitfish is dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm glad this kind of, you know, redneck nemesis who wasn't that good at anything he did is dead.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, yeah, I'm glad, because, you know, Pride deserves a much better nemesis than Baitfish.
Well, we did see somebody in a hat assassinated Baitfish, but we don't know who, but it's presumably probably a cop or something.
Yeah.
Or somebody in the Navy, or somebody. I don't think, no, because all the NCIS people were there. Like, all their field operatives were in that area. So there's no one else. There's no betrayal on the NCIS team that could happen unless Sebastian decided to come by and shoot a guy in the head. Yeah,
Sebastian becomes this like dark nemesis. It's pretty cool for his character. They used to laugh at me for knowing all this stuff. But I can shoot a man in the head with a pistol at 200 yards because I studied the Kennedy assassination.
I'll make all the Star Trek references I want.
Yeah, and it'll be scary and weird because I'm actually the bad guy, not the lovable nerd. What if it's Loretta? What if she's like the spider at the middle of the web, and the whole arc was just Loretta, just like, you know, all this pain I carry in me. Well, I had to do something with it, Pride. I had to channel this into something. It's not going to happen, but.
And so for our second show, we have The Mentalist. We have Season 1, Episode 22, Blood Brothers. Original air date, May 12, 2009, CBS Tuesday. A teenage boy's murder appears to be related to a secret group he belonged to at an unorthodox school for troubled teens. Showrunner Bruno Heller, written by Erica Green Swafford, directed by John Polson. Okay, I think I accidentally added another L at the end there. I was like, uh-oh, how do you say this? I had like Polsonol.
no, just Polson.
Okay, just Polson.
That's what I'm seeing on the thing I'm looking at. So. All right. Sorry, John, if we got it wrong.
Yeah, so we have CBI is out in a forest to investigate a crime scene, and Jane just like has a walking stick and is smelling stuff from the trees.
Yeah.
Just that usual, like, Jane being weird for no reason.
Yeah, Jane randomness.
You hope like, hey, will this work back around? It's like, not really, but whatever. Also, it's like, don't disturb the crime scene, and like Jane's walking around with a stick, just moving leaves and crap around, disturbing the crime scene.
It's the usual sociopath Jane. It's like, I have no, I don't really understand why everyone's so upset about this dead teenager.
Well, I do like that. Like, well, he's dead, so he doesn't care how I talk to you. I was like, that was funny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's like Jane's sociopathy. She's rearing its head. It's like, you need to be logical about this. He's dead. He doesn't care. His brain stopped receiving information from his ears as soon as somebody like beat his skull in with a rock. This is a teenager we're talking about, not someone who like their wife was behind them, and but whatever. There's a lot of inappropriate funny moments in this, and we're basically talking about dead kids or a girl having sex with an adult. And it's like, and people are kind of making gaffes like, wow, people are really cold and indifferent.
The victim is Justin. He has an ankle bracelet, which seems weird.
Yeah,
because it is weird.
Yeah, it's strange.
I mean, he's a student at some juvenile delinquent like summer camp high school thing.
No, it's basically rich parents that don't like the way their kids talk to them camp.
Yeah,
because they kind of alluded that it costs like $40,000 a year to send your kid there or something.
Yeah,
and the guy who runs it is like, Jane thought that's like, oh, the local sheriff lady thinks you're some crazy hippie, but then when you get to know the guy and see pictures of him, he kind of seems more like the guy who wrote Conan the Barbarian. He's like a John Milius character. It's like, I love violence and killing deer, and I'm in charge. And it's like, oh, okay.
The victim was buried alive, and he crawled out to the spot in the woods. Because Jane finds like where he was buried, and there's just like, there's in the beginning there's a tree and it has like Z Crew carved into it, and then like when they go to where it was buried, there was like spray paint of Z Crew like on the rocks and stuff like that, which comes up later.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody in the town seemed like the chief and the principal, Mr. McLean, like everybody in this town seems weird and suspicious. So.
Yeah, this is like a town of shitheads. Like, I don't know who to not. I just want to arrest you all for this because I think you're just awful people. And if you haven't done anything bad yet, I know you will.
The parents show up angry at the principal, and then Lisbon kind of takes them away to interview them. And they're like, he wasn't a bad kid. He just yelled at people for no reason. Yeah. Never violence, just yelling. And then we also get some backstory where apparently Cho was in a juvenile detention center.
Yeah, because Cho's like, this is summer camp. Now juvie really sucks. And Rigsby's like, how would you know? He goes, I was a juvenile delinquent. Didn't you read my file? And it comes up with about this thing about reading files. So I don't know if this is like some subtle Cho misdirect.
Yeah,
he likes to play because he's always the straight guy, but he's not. He's always like trying to upset people in very straightforward ways. Where he's
because there's that bit where he says like, I read your files, like I didn't know you're adopted. And then Rigby's like, what? And then he's like, that's a joke. He's like, oh, okay. So you don't know if this is like a Cho backstory or the Cho joke. You don't know. Yeah, it's fun Cho's either way.
Great faced it the whole time.
Yeah.
He's like my second favorite character in this series. What's Cho gonna do now? What's Cho gonna look you right in the face and say that is either a misdirect or just completely untrue? Because you can't do what Jane does, where you're like, "Oh, lead me, wizard! It's magical what you're doing." Cho just like looks at you and makes statements, and when you react, he's always kind of like Mr. Spock. He's like, it's not really a logical reaction.
And just deep sarcastic sense of humor.
Yeah, just like no, and humanity has drained away years ago.
Yeah, and it's like it's almost all for himself because like nobody knows if he's joking or not. It's like only the audience knows.
Yeah, Cho has no friends. Like he's just there to project a kind of a vague, what do you call that? Detachment and just like he's almost disinterested in everything that's going on.
Yeah, he's trying to be. What do you call that? Like,
he's just
objective.
Yeah, he's not playing the game. He's just observing it. Like it's like, this doesn't affect me at all. But then sometimes it does, which is fun.
Yeah,
that's why this show's good because it's like there's a lot of weird stuff that carries through.
And then Jane has fun with this counselor who's like just being a controlling jerk to these kids. But, you know, these kids are supposed to be like kind of out of line. So that somewhat makes sense, but it just seems cruel in the moment. And then Jane just like ties her up and sends her away in a really funny way.
Yeah, because I want to talk to these kids without you here, and you're obviously a C word, so I'm just going to use a magic trick and like not untie you.
Yeah, so Jane interviews the group of kids, and they figure there. This is where he finds out about the urban legend of Axeman Zachariah.
Yeah.
Which I don't. The thing I didn't like about like this urban legend the whole time is it feels like the CBI at any point could have just like looked up records. Or like, is there any records of any of this stuff happening that they're talking about? Like, because they're talking about like some kid was decapitated and his head was hung from a tree, and it sounded like they did it like 2 years ago or something. Like nobody ever
anyone do an internet search or anything?
Yeah, no.
Casually,
they just shrug. It's like, maybe it happened. It's like, you can know this, right? Like, there was a murder in your state, you should probably know about it.
Behold the power of legend. Like they're just gonna like write it off like some Joseph Campbell thing. It's like these stories always mean something else, so we're just gonna roll with it because, you know, cops are known for their imagination. That's especially when there's dead teenagers involved. It's like, yeah,
and then the
immersed to this.
And then the lady comes back with the principal, and they stop Jane from interviewing the kids, and then Lisbon walks away. It's like, you can't do that. And then a golf cart just like beeps and like runs between them, and just Jane just hops on the golf cart.
Yeah.
And it was kind of like the end of the scene. It's like, that was weird.
I'm not walking back. The guy in the golf cart's just totally cool with it. Like, yeah, just hang on to the outside of it, strange man in a suit. Just gonna roll with this.
Then we have Cho and Risby find like a shed marked on like a map that the kid that Justin made or something that was in his belongings. They find Justin's missing shoe. And then they get a shotgun to the face.
Yeah, they go to some hillbilly hutch in the woods, and
it's Winston, the crazy woods guy.
Yeah, has a double-barreled shotgun from the 1800s, and he just holds two cops like at gunpoint when they're clearly cops. He's like, "You're on my land, and now I'm gonna blast you." It's like, yeah. Did they suddenly just cross into like Kentucky at some point? It's like, where is this happening?
And then the chief shows up because apparently the guy called the cops because they set off one of his old perimeter alarms or something.
You know, cans with ball bearings in them. I don't know. I was thinking to myself, first misdirect coming our way. This guy obviously didn't do it, even though he looks exactly like the kind of person who would do that.
Yeah. Well, apparently it's like the kids have been vandalizing this guy's house because they think he's the Axeman, even though he has two arms or something.
Yeah, he's not missing an arm, but yeah, he's the one.
And then there's my favorite show line of this episode is like their interview is like, why am I being held here? It's like, you pointed a gun at two cops. Like, it's like, and he like gives the technical term for the felony or whatever. And it's like, well, how am I supposed to know who you are? It's like, you're right. We need better brand awareness.
Yeah, CBI. It's like, I don't know what that is. Yeah, that was good. Actually, I like that.
Then we have Jane kind of gathers the kids again, and he does one of his tricks, and you see the kid Oren scratching poison ivy on his leg. So it's like, that's okay. Yeah, because the Winston mentions that he's been doing all these tricks to try to keep the kids away, and one of them was like putting poison ivy all over the perimeter of his shack or whatever his house is.
Yeah, whatever that hut is. His rage hut.
Then Jane interviews Oren. Oren tells them the tale of Zachariah. Then like it leads to Brian, because there's like this weird secret cult of the Z Crew, where it's like nobody knows. The only person they know in the group is the person that initiated them. Like nobody knows who anybody is, which would make it seem like this thing's been going on for years or decades or something. But really, I don't know. It's a fairly recent thing, I guess. But to these kids, it seems like it's like, oh, this is tradition. This is how it is. I don't really get the whole Z Crew The ultimate purpose of it is nebulous to me, but whatever. What else did they figure out when they're oh yeah, and that leads to Brian, which Rigsby tackles the hell out of this kid. Which is funny.
Like flies into a pond.
Yeah. Yeah, because the kid starts taking off, and Rigsby's like, "I'll get him," and like that guy's like, I think that guy was actually probably like a rugby player or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he's a big guy and he's super fast, and he just tackles this kid into the water. It's like, well, that's a little out of line, but whatever. It gave the moment where like he has to be like in his underwear drying off. So, I guess that was the point of that scene. Because what's Brian? Yeah, Brian just gives him some more stuff about like what the secret society sea crew thing is going on. And at the same time, we have Cassie is missing because she was the one that brought Brian into the gang.
Yeah.
And the cops are searching for Cassie, and then Jane hitches a ride with the principal because he suspects him, and Cassie's hiding in the car. And then you have the Mr. McLean is sleeping with underage girls. Which the weird part of this is that like she's not afraid of Mr. McLean. Like she's sleeping with him because there's something else that she's more afraid of, which that's the weird thing. Because she's like, no, he's just a weird, creepy guy. There's that's fine, but I can't deal with the creepy thing beyond that, which is just this kid that's pulling the strings, which it's kind of weird.
Yeah, because apparently that kid's been there like 4 years or something.
Yeah. They have the Sacred Fire meeting, and Jane tells a scary story, and then it's Elliot as the kid's essentially the mastermind, and he tricks him to confessing to killing Justin. And then apparently also Elliot was tricking Cassie into sleeping with McLean, and then that he was using that to blackmail McLean. It's all kind of like, why? But apparently it's just because he's a sociopath or whatever. So, because the reason he kills Justin is because he laughed at him.
Yeah. Yeah, this kid has a pretty fragile ego. Yeah. It seems like people are taking pretty extreme actions over very, like, even sociopaths. It's like, oh, this guy laughed at me. Well, I'm going to beat his head in with a rock and then have really no way to hide this crime. So I'm going to mix it up with, like, some kind of mythology I made up. And the adults will never figure this out. It's like, no, I don't think people. That seems a little excessive, but.
And then like an interesting moment is at the end is like Jane tries to like miss out on being thanked by the parents of the victim.
Yeah.
Which I'm not sure exactly like why he doesn't want to be thanked, or if that's just makes him.
He has a problem with people and emotions ultimately.
Yeah. Well, I don't
he
know
doesn't want to be thanked because he's kind of doing awful things all along the way. Or not awful, but he's like he's getting results, but he's like just kind of steamrolling over people's like feelings and concepts and stuff because he's always the smartest guy in the room, and but it seems a little I don't know. He has a problem with like people and real feelings, like sarcasm and being the smart guy and figuring everyone out. Like that's when he's at his best. But when it comes to like, I want to sincerely thank you for finding the person who beat my kid's head in with a rock and buried him with a life. He's like, you're welcome.
Yeah, he doesn't want. He doesn't want. Yeah, he doesn't want to be confronted with his own feelings. And the best thing he can, he doesn't want to be. He's like, yeah, thank you. But the best thing he comes up with, or he says like that, he died trying to protect Cassie. So like, your son's a hero. So.
Yeah, I mean, he did a good thing, or said something nice. He always does. But let me talk to you about the one thing that weirded me out about this episode. It's like, oh, this seems strange. Is when they did the Sacred Fire scene.
Yeah.
And they have Rigsby dressed up as laying on the ground as the Axeman, Zachariah, and they had this is how you incant him and all this, and then he reaches up and grabs Elliot, and then Elliot like confesses right away. It's like, yes, I did it, because you have to confess your crime or the Axeman will kill you.
Yeah.
And then well, after he does it and he finally says it, and some people kind of knew it or suspected it, and all the kids start laughing like, we got you. And it's like, wait, this kid just confessed to murdering someone horribly. And it's like, what a campfire fun time. It's like, whoa, this is a weird scene. But I guess they had to do the scene, like it couldn't end in silence with everyone staring at him, but it probably would have been like more appropriate.
Yeah, well, ultimately he murdered Justin because he laughed at him. So I guess the thing that'd be more horrifying to him is not like people being shocked by his violence, but laughing at him for so.
Yeah, that could be a thing, but it just struck me as funny. It's like, these people seem to be having a.
Yeah, but it's like you don't learn the laughing thing till the end of pretty much of everything, so that scene doesn't make sense at first. Mm-hmm. So it only makes sense in retrospect.
Yeah, but it was a good episode. I mean, I like The Mentalist.
Yeah.
I just, because you never know it's quirky enough. It's like, what's he going to say? What's going to happen in this where it's like, yeah, something awful happened. And it's like, yep.
And I have our last show. We have Miami Vice, season 1, episode 22, Lombard.
Yes.
2 episodes in a row named after characters in this thing.
Yep.
Original air date, May 10, 1985, NBC Friday. Crockett and Tubbs must protect a reluctant witness from his prior employers, the mafia family that wants to silence him. Showrunner Michael Mann, written by David Aziel and directed by John Nicola. I think he's like a producer on the show. I think that he directed that Maze episode as well.
Okay.
And I believe... You know that weird shotgun that's in this episode? I believe it's in that one as well. So he must love that shotgun.
The high standard Model 10?
Yeah.
It's a weird gun.
It's like a bullpup semi-auto shotgun.
Yeah, I guess the reality of those guns is they were developed for the military. And they the way they load and fire, you have to fire like really high-powered, what they call high brass shells. And even then, they jam all the time. That's why they kind of went out of use. But they look like futuristic and menacing.
Yeah.
Even now, let alone in the 80s. They've been around since the 50s, I think. In one form or another, they've been trying to develop them. Because a SWAT commander in L.A. tried to develop that into something. It was going to be called the ultimate... it's time for gun trivia, everyone. Yeah, it was supposed to be the ultimate breaching type, narrow quarters combat type gun.
Yeah.
But I guess it just jams all the time. And you really got to hold on to it because it's very abusive to shoot.
Oh, yeah, because the action's all at the back. It's like a bullpup.
Yeah, it's a bullpup gun. It only held 4 shots. Huh. You could put an expansion tube on it like you can with a regular 12 gauge, kind of extend that thing out under the barrel to get it to 6 shots or whatever, but it jammed all the time at 4. So you put like 6 or 2 more in there, it's just going to jam even more. So yeah, but it's weird looking in this show. It's like future gun assassin lady.
Yeah, it seems like something like Michael Mann would pick out. It's like that's new and interesting.
Yeah, it looked cool on screen, and that's all.
There is a Internet Movie Database. It's called like the Internet Movie Firearms Database. Yep.
That's where I went. Have the page up,
and that gun has only been in like 10 other things.
Yeah.
And I think it ends in like 89. Like nobody's like had it in anything since.
Yep.
Or at least bothered. It's been in something and nobody's bothered to put it on that database. I think it's been in video games like as of recently, but
yeah.
I think it was in Ghost Recon or something like that.
Yeah, the main shotgun of this era of action TV and movies was the Italian one.
Oh, Spaz 12?
Yeah, which is banned for no reason other than it was in so many TVs and movies that it became like a scary gun. And so because we have shotguns that are a lot more effective than that here that you can go buy any day of the week.
Yeah.
But for some reason, that one is like, the bad guys use that in movies, so let's like pass laws against it. It's like, it's
a gun banned because it was too cool.
Well, what a lot of people don't know, especially like some of my friends that are just way too into guns, and I'm sure people listen to this show and think we're way too into guns, but understand we don't own most of these. We just read trivia about them. The ones we have are a lot more basic and practical, but is like this was like Reagan got rid of a lot of these guns. Like a lot of people don't know that. It's like, yeah, Reagan was the one who. It was not illegal to own fully automatic weapons in this country until Reagan came along. Now the ones that you can own are either you're a manufacturer or it's all what they call pre-ban, which I know that there's a lot more to that than what I'm saying. But yeah, I was like, yeah, Reagan banned a lot of these guns, you know, and he's everyone's hero. He's like the Christ figure of the Republican Party, or he was. Now Trump's kind of taken his place as the father that everyone in the Republican Party never had. But yeah, so anyway, Lombard.
Yes, Dennis Farina's back. He's the titular Lombard, Albert Lombard.
Yes.
He was in a previous episode called One-Eyed Jack.
Yep.
Although he wasn't like the mob boss, he was like kind of like his right-hand guy. Because there's a shootout in the boat, and I couldn't remember if he got shot or not, but I guess he does not. I guess he shot his boss. Is it, what's it, Labrizzi? Yeah, Labrizzi.
Yep.
I like we have Vice sneaking up on the gang with their lights out. They go to this boat multiple times with their lights out. There's a lot of turn the lights out on car stuff in this episode.
Yeah, it seems like I guess they turn their brake lights off too somehow because these cars just move through the darkness like they're stealth vehicles. Like no one's hitting the brakes. They just all downshifting. Oh.
Just put it neutral, push, hop in.
Yep.
Actually, no. I guess the brakes still work then, even then.
Yeah, the brakes work then.
Yeah, then it looks like it's like some sort of like they're gonna raid the place, but ends up being like they're serving his court papers.
It's just a real elaborate process server scene. Yeah.
It's something about like he has like immunity to prosecution, and because of that, he can't plead the Fifth Amendment because anything he says won't be used agast him.
Yeah,
but
grand
if he
juries
does,
can do that. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I've never heard of this before.
Yeah, it's called being threatened with immunity. Real thing.
But if you do plead the Fifth Amendment, then you'll get like 5 years for contempt of court stuff.
Yeah.
So I never heard of that. So I didn't know if that was a new thing for this time or if that's something that's always existed. Or it feels like something that should be like illegal for some reason. But I don't know.
No, you got to remember this is all part of the family of laws they called RICO.
Yeah.
Which was all the asset forfeiture and all that, so which is still around. It was mainly made to bust the mob. It was like it's a real thing. I don't know if I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if the show's interpreting it correctly.
Yeah.
But I have heard of the term like, yeah, you can be called in front of a grand jury and threatened with immunity, which means you have to tell them the truth, but you cannot be prosecuted for it. That's how they busted up the mob. Because you wouldn't be prosecuted for anything. But on the other side, the mob would just kill you if you did it. So that's the conundrum. That's why witness protection and stuff became a thing. Because most of the people that got to testify against the mob did not want to testify against the mob. But they also did not want to go to prison where they would just be killed by the mob because they might inform at some later time, even if they didn't, because they're in prison. Unless you went to prison like they did in Goodfellas, where you just got all the booze and smokes and food you wanted. It was just like a really elaborate vacation.
Yeah, cut garlic with a razor blade.
Yeah. It dissolves as soon as you put it in the butter.
Yeah. Then we have the CIA douchebag is back, but if you look at, there's a lot of stuff I had to look up, and I kind of unfortunately like know stuff in the future. Not too much, but like I know like, so like this guy gets shot later in an episode and presumed dead. He's named as a different character in the previous episode, which I don't know if that was just like his CIA thing. Like he's always a different guy because it's the CIA.
Yeah.
But like, so like him and Dennis Farina, they like all come back in an episode. Cause like the first one was called One-Eyed Jack, and like they come out in like a later season episode, like in season 5 called like, something like another Jack related term, another poker term.
Yeah.
And they all come back. So, and this guy comes back as like a third named character, but I think he's just supposed to be a mysterious CIA guy or something.
Yeah.
That was kind of weird. Yeah. Then we have, he meets with the CIA guy, and then the CIA guy, meets, it's Charlie. He's named Charlie here, but he has a different name in the previous episode, or not the previous episode he was in. Charlie meets with Labrizzi's son, and Labrizzi's kind of like, do you want his job? But he's like being kind of coy about it. And then like this one guy walks up to him and kind of stares at him, and like, what's that about? And they kind of cut away. But I think that guy, like, is that guy that at the table? Does he like burn their place down later on?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's the guy that does
Because
it.
then Lombard just has him killed because he doesn't talk.
Yeah,
But a couple assassins try to take out Lombard, and that's where we see the weird shotgun. Um, like Lombard kind of like pushes the guys away, and I don't know if he's like pushing them towards the bullets or he's like trying to push them down out of the way. Lombard like gets grazed in the shoulder or something. Takes a Hollywood wound. He's out in a he's back out in the street in a day.
Yeah, he's not even walking with a limp. He's got a bunch of buckshot in his hips. Like, yeah, let's get out there and do some good.
Someone burns down Labrizzi's warehouse. Lombard orders a guy to kill him. And then like Lombard's looking to leave town. And then we have some this is the thing where like they're staking out his boat again, and like they just had the lights out. And then like there's a lot of weird voiceover in this episode.
Yes.
And there's like this weird bit where like they're throwing luggage in the back of the trunk, and I think it's Crockett does like a British accent or something. It's like, we don't need all this luggage to go to a theater. It's like, what?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of like people sitting in cars and just staring at things and music, and then people putting on hammy British accents. Like,
but then they have like kind of an interesting, like not really it's a follow sequence, not necessarily a chase sequence. And then like it took me a while to like, it's like, is that U2 playing? And like, yeah, it ended up being U2. I don't know what the song is. It just might be some, I don't know. The Internet Movie Database, their music section is wanting for this stuff. Like sometimes it seems to be fine, but like in every episode, like In the Air Night is listed, even though they only play it in the first episode.
The song's called Wire by U2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And there's like this part where like they go on the highway and like they turn their lights out, do a 180, and then like go on a different part of the highway, and then Crockett and Tubbs like end up going beyond them. It's like, oh, so they lost them. And then this is where Charlie sets up Lombard, and like the guards like starting to turn on him, and then Charlie pulls out a gun to shoot Lombard, but then Crockett shoots him, from away, so they and hold the other guys up, and so he saves Lombard. But then they never follow up on Charlie. It's like, is that guy dead now or something? But like I said, he shows up in the last season. So,
but Dennis Farina shows up later in Miami Vice as a different character.
Oh, okay, guys. I saw he was only in 3 episodes as the same character.
No, I think he's a different character in one. What is it? Which one is it? Season 5, maybe. But yeah,
there's season 5, but he's the same character. I don't know, but they also have Dennis Farina's in the other. What's the other Michael Mann cop show that he made that only had one
Crime
season?
Story.
Yeah, he was in that. So I don't know. But yeah,
yes, he does return. It's just alluded that he was assassinated, never confirmed. So yeah, he does return.
Yeah. Okay. So Vice needs to protect Lombard before the trial, and like they raid like some motel or something to like, safeguard Lombard. It's a really cool scene where just like cops are showing up out of nowhere and just raiding this place. And it seems like it's like a dilapidated motel that nobody uses, but there's apparently like power and gas for the stove and everything. So
there's nice cooking ware. You send the cops out for they're gonna make an Italian dish.
Yeah. And then you have this is where like Crockett and Tubbs kind of empathize with Lombard without actually like going that far, because they're like, well, they know who he is ultimately, so they can't like just because he's a person with a son that doesn't like him, that well, I can relate to that, but anyway. We have the assassins show up in a box truck, and you have a big shootout. That's pretty cool.
Like Switek has an M60.
Yeah.
And just firing at one, like just two-handing an M60 at this truck. I was like, oh, that's kind of crazy scene.
Yeah.
A little dangerous for the cops to just be spraying the city down with bullets, but okay, it works.
Yeah, so they're shooting down from a roof, and there's cops across the way. Shooting with shotguns. I think they get all the assassins. I don't think any of the cops are hit.
No.
But in the ruckus, Lombard gets away.
Yeah.
And then there's like they have like a powwow at like Castillo's room. It's like, where is he now? Like he has nobody to run to. Then like because they empathize with Lombard. It's like, oh, he has a son. He's probably going to see his son one last time.
Right.
And so, yeah, they kind of have like a heart to heart where it's basically kind of presumed like, well, this is the last time we'll see each other because somebody's probably going to kill me. But
Yeah.
and so because even that wasn't safe for them to, where they have just a bunch of cops on a motel that like they completely control. There's like, well, we need to go one step further. So then they just take out Crockett's boat, both of them, out to the middle of the ocean to like safeguard him.
Right.
And then like Lombard gets like his affairs in order and writes out his will and everything. Oh yeah, and then that's also where like Crockett reminds Lombard that like his gang killed his friend.
Yeah.
Like the lady that had the gambling debts or whatever. Lombard insists that he didn't, that was bad for business and he didn't like ultimately make that call, but it's like Crockett's like, he still killed my friend. I don't care. And this is a really interesting and cool scene. You have the police, everybody's like dressed up in a windbreaker, basically like try to hide Lombard from assassins.
Yeah, they're all wearing the same kind of coats. Yeah.
Yeah. And then like they're all just armed to the teeth. And they just like are running into the courthouse with weapons.
Like M16s and stuff.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
crazy stuff.
And like there's some guys with like some bags to get out of an elevator, and like they like immediately just like, why are you get on the ground? And they look over everything, it's just violins. Like, you know, whoever's bringing a violin to a courthouse, whatever. And they get in the elevator, and Castillo's just like, send us the bill for anything broken. It's like a really cool and funny scene. I've never seen that before. So
yeah, it was.
I mean, it makes sense, but like it was high tension and everything. So
yeah, it was fun.
And then then they get him to the courthouse. You have Lombard's son is there, and then they start asking questions, and this is where Lombard pleads the fifth, and he decides to like, you know, holds his loyalty to the people that want him dead. Because he has his own code that he needs to follow, so he's going to follow that to his death. And then because of that, like Crockett and Tubbs have like a weird respect for him. It's like, yeah, I understand it. You're still a dirtbag, but at least you have some not morals, but a code at least.
Yeah, he's like, well, this code is like all I've got, you know, some kind of speech like that. But he basically betrayed his son, who just testify. These people are evil.
Yeah. His son says like, you don't owe these people anything. They're literally trying to kill you. Like, protecting them will serve you no purpose. They're just going to try to kill you again.
Yeah.
And then he goes up there and he holds his loyalty.
Yeah, and his son like walks out of the court, like stares at him and walks out. It's like, yeah, this is kind of a sad episode. It was overlong in some places, but then it had some interesting like action.
Yeah. Because it ends with like, it ends. He drives out of the courthouse like in his Beamer, I think, or is it a Mercedes? I can't remember.
Mercedes. It's
okay.
a blacked out Mercedes with like black rims and stuff.
And that's where they cut to like a car where there's like guys with a MAC-10 and a shotgun, and this was, you presume, like, oh, they're still after him, even though, but yeah, they never. But that's kind of left there, and that was the season finale of Miami Vice.
Yeah, and it was a good, you know, these last two episodes of Miami Vice are really like, to me, indicative of what the series becomes.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of like silly episodes like they did in the first season, or kind of just random ones with unusual circumstances. Like Tubbs has to infiltrate a building pretending to be a Jamaican or something. Like, yeah, you don't see a lot more of that. This is it's really shaping up to be.
They figure out what works and they focus in on that later on. Because a lot of first season stuff, you have like, they're trying a lot of stuff to see what sticks. So
yeah. Yeah, but this is definitely like, because Evan and this one are kind of become indicative of what Miami Vice. It gets even darker and weirder as it goes on. I mean, wait till Peter Gabriel shows up. Hannibal Lecter's a character, briefly, very briefly, and then who else shows up? The guy from Genesis. Yeah. He's a character.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Yeah, why am I drawing a blank on his name? He's like one of the most famous guys.
Phil Collins.
Phil Collins, yeah. Yeah, because a lot of the people that made the music for this show, like there's a lot of musicians that show up in this show. Like the guy from Smuggler's Blues is like, that was the guy who sang that song, was the pilot.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, Miami Vice season 1's over.
You can watch it on, because we were watching it on Stars first, but now you can get it on Peacock.
Yeah.
Which I think there's free versions of Peacock. You just get ads.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, and then because Stars had Evan as like, you couldn't watch Evan on Stars, but here it has them all. So
yeah,
with the
or you can just order the season-long or the multi-series multi-season DVD set for $20 like I did.
But yeah, I was very surprised at how well this show held up. I mean, like we always say, like it's not really a procedural; it's more of a mood and like an art to Miami Vice. So like as a procedural, it's like actually like pretty poor.
Yeah.
But as just like a mood and like just a tone piece, like it's like far and above. Like it has a style where it's like none of the other shows really have a style.
Yeah, I mean, this is just kind of like a recall of my, this is like the coolest show. I love this show when I was like younger. Like I was 7, 8 years old. I was like, oh, Miami Vice is on.
But like I had no anticipation that like of this like holding up at all. I thought there'd be like way more things that like, ooh, like this doesn't age well. But there's only like, I don't know, like 2 things.
Yeah.
There's it's a show. It's like there's a lot of diversity in the show, like behind the camera too, and there's there's only one racist thing that I can remember, and it's like it was Noogie making fun of Asian people. It's like you probably should have cut that out, but I guess that was probably one of those improv things, and nobody really felt compelled to be sensitive to that stuff at the time. So
yeah.
Miami Vice, pretty cool show. So.
Oh yeah, they do a good job with it.
I feel like I didn't pace around and think about how we're gonna cap off Miami Vice, so I'm just kind of like struggling for stuff here. But we will. Next show we are going to talk about like what we're going to do for the next season, and because we will kind of elect to get rid of things or keep them on, and so we'll probably keep on Miami Vice. So
yeah, Miami Vice will be kind of a tent pole, and then other things will change in and out. However we decide to do it.
Yeah. Well, if you like what you heard, I know you're listening to this anyways, but you can find us on anchor.fm/Verhoeven Effect. There you can, well, actually, you can't, I don't think they have a rating on anchor.fm, but like this podcast is in a lot of places where you can get it. And if they allow rating, like you can rate us whatever you want, but the only thing that listens to is like whatever the highest rating is, like rate us 5 stars or whatever. Because remember, like you control the algorithm doesn't control you. And if asked to leave a review, just write something like, this gets me through the workday, because people like to hear that. It's like this thing where it's like, I like you and I hate work.
Yeah.
How can we come together?
You are my work prophylactic. You are the condom that shields me from the horror of my job.
And then of course people like managers just want to like take the headphones off you. It's like, no, you need to pay attention to this work at all times. Like I can do this in my sleep. Like let me listen to the podcast.
Yeah, I've had those discussions at work before about, oh, you guys need to watch out for this. It's like, well, I haven't for the last 10 years, and things have been clipping along nicely, so don't try to make your job mine.
I remember like I had stuff where like, because I'd work in the back, and that was the only time I'd put them in, because like if you're on the floor and there's customers, it's like, well, obviously you can't have things in your ears. And then at wintertime, you put like a stocking cap on and put your put the Bluetooth headphones in and just like act like none the wiser. And of course, when people ask you for questions, you'd have to like, huh? And then like pretend to like, oh, there's something on my ear. And let me hit that so I can hit pause on the podcast. Yeah, we had a lot of young people like they just wear headphones out openly, and then of course people get mad at them like, you're not paying attention to me. And then so they got wise to that, and so just like every teenager's wearing a hoodie and it's always up. It's like, I wonder why.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't do that. Absolutely can't do that at my job now, but because I'm driving a forklift in a huge production facility where people are walking around. So even I get why I can't do that now. That would be wildly dangerous. But at other times and other places I've worked for the company, I would just disappear I would wear like Bose noise canceling headphones because I was at an isolated workstation and just repairing engines or small parts or something. No one ever talked to me. As long as I showed up for work, you just kind of faded into the background. Like, well, his attendance is good. And you just sort of disappeared as a person. So yeah, I used to listen to like, all kinds of stuff.
So at anchor.fm/Verhoeven Effect, we also have listener support where you can support us at a monthly stipend of 99 cents, $4.99, or $9.99. And if you support us, we'll just do more of this faster. You can find us at Twitter at Verhoeven Effect, Facebook, Verhoeven Effect. We also have another podcast called American Greed Factory. You can find that on YouTube, where you can watch that show and this show live and unedited. Get all the uhs and swearing you want.
All that you can take.
We have t-shirts at blowthecollar.com/Greed Factory. And I'm also at Twitch at twitch.tv/Greed Factory. So for the Verhoeven Effect podcast, this is Conlon.
And this is Nathan.
Goodbye, America.